Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Jim Grisanzio, and I'm having some conversations with some of the key people who were involved with the Hackmakers World Innovation Day, which was last month. And today I'm here with Jason Lowe. Jason, welcome. Welcome to the program.
Hey Jim, hey everyone. How is everything happening there?
Is things are going okay? Nice to meet you here for the first time. We've exchanged some tweets, but this is actually a first virtual experience for us. So, so
It's
yeah,
good to see
good.
you.
Nice to see you too. So, as I said, I'm following up with some people who are involved with this virtual hackathon, which was last month. And I see actually from the website now that it's actually a series of hackathons. So let's start off talking a little bit about you and a little bit about what you do at Oracle, and then we'll talk about the hack last month.
So yeah, my role at Oracle is Master Cloud Solution Engineer. That is a bit of a mouthful, but what I also do, primarily the reason why I get involved into hackathons like the World Innovation Day is primarily the community engagement. So starting off with students, universities, startups, and not necessarily Oracle people, as a lot of the people in Queensland know. So always happy to help and get out there and do what we can.
Interesting. So this was a 3-day event, and how did it go?
Yeah, so it started on the Friday night and actually went through to the Monday. So 72 hours was a long time. But yeah, it's great to actually have this virtual event, many different countries and many different time zones, as we were talking before, represented across the world. So we're yet to get to the judgings, but very excited to see how the teams happen. But also, probably more so, very happy to see what happens to individuals and teams after the event, and irrespective of whatever the judgings happens.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up. I want to really get into that today because I've been to a few hackathons, but they were physical experiences. And one of the things I noticed is that, like, let's say you set a time limit, we're going to go from 8 a.m. until 5 or 6 at night. So the first thing I noticed is they showed up early, they stayed late. Right. And sort of blowing your schedule out in terms of, if you're trying to manage this. And the reason is people are really into this. Developers are used to creating things and building things, working in teams and things like that. And the second thing I noticed was that they continued those relationships after the event was over. Now we have a situation where everything is virtual, everybody is at home, right? So a couple of questions here. Did this thing actually run around the clock? Because people were distributed globally, so it could have been working actually around the clock, right?
Yeah, so you hit a very good question. It was definitely represented as a global event. We did have representation pretty much I can't remember the exact number, but definitely lots of countries across the world. So time zones and teams actually collaborating 24 by over those 3 days around the clock was definitely something that needed to be worked on within those teams.
Interesting. So you mentioned earlier about, how people are getting on now, right? There's still judging to be done and there's still winners to be announced and things. New relationships were established, obviously. Now, what can people expect in terms of what, like, for instance, they've learned things, right? They came together, they worked as teams. They obviously Oracle was involved. We were using our platform and everything, a lot of our tools, but other companies were there as well, obviously, with their platforms and tools. But anyway, people learned things. They learned how to work together in a virtual environment. They learned some new technology and they built something for a good cause. This whole point here is to build something for health, education, things like that, right? For a good cause. These skills that they developed or they brought, to the table, a lot of people are young in this business, a heck of a lot younger than me. Let's talk a little bit about what the value is of participating in these type of events. Where can you take this as a young developer?
Yeah, looking at this kind of environment and this kind of community that we've got, then what we did find that there were many different types of developers, data scientists, front end developers, back end developers, designers. There was business people, people that also came in with a non-tech background that were more focused on the sustainable development goals. So there was definitely that really good mix of people. What they learnt through that process. I actually got a different blog that I wrote for a previous hackathon, for the digital defense hackathon, around the infinite game. So one of the things I found from that event, as well as this one, is a continuum of learning. So creating these opportunities like the hackathons in a really good, high-pressured, short time frame environment accelerates that learning process. So what we found that people learned at the last event and then came back and did it again, it'd be a different learning experience. They may have chose to learn something more about those sustainable development goals. But when they take it on, they can take that into their day jobs or into their existing life experiences and say, okay, how can I learn more about those topics? Can I build a business? Can I find new opportunities where I can maybe, if from a technology perspective, find a job or a learning path or some certifications in certain technologies. So hopefully in the future, there'll be more opportunities where we can engage with not just developers, but any other type of person that wants to come and experience this style of event.
Interesting that you mentioned that there was a mix of skill sets there in terms of technical people and non-technical people. Did you notice anything like any kind of interactions? In other words, how did these different skill sets mix?
Within these teams, and this is probably one of the typical hackathon type notions, is that a perfect team has a hustler, someone that can talk about the problem, sell the problem, a hipster, someone that understands and does a lot of things around design, a hacker, which is more the development and on the tools. I like to also mix in another one that I found, which was the hound, the person that can actually do a bit more around research and understanding qualitative and quantitative research. So when you look at that, just even kinds of skills, you need diversity. But then when you translate that into, let's say, sustainable development goals, you also need diversity in that in terms of different countries, different lifestyles, people's deep expert understanding about what those different problem spaces are. So it'd be fantastic to do the quality education challenge if you actually had a teacher or you had someone from a curriculum background and not necessarily the tech. So that diversity in that team gives you broad skills, and I think to understand, create innovations and do something unique, you need that diversity.
It's an interesting, I love how you described it. I've never seen that written down. Is that a part of the agile framework or something? Because hackathons use an agile scrum sort of a framework. It's very interesting.
Yeah, those roles have been brought to me really early on when I first did hackathon. I first did my first hackathon back in 2016. So understanding the team makeups, and as I've moved from a participant to organizer, mentor and organizer, then you start looking at who are the people that you want to bring in, what are the skills that you want to bring together. And it's not just about the individuals participate, but also the sponsors, the corporates and the mentors. You want to have good mix of people to actually lean on as well.
Cool. Now, this is you guys in Australia, your teams have been involved in several hackathons, from what I understand. This
is our fourth hackathon. Well, at least from my personal perspective, my fourth hackathon with Hackmakers. Yes.
Interesting. So that's really cool. I mentioned I had a conversation with Frank Ucci, last week, and we talked about this a little bit. This is really good for Oracle because this really encourages Oracle engineers and also non-engineers as well to get involved in these types of events, because it's how you interact with our various communities. And Oracle is just a monster of a company. It's a huge company. We have huge communities, lots of customers, and it's a way for us to get directly involved with all these different groups. What types, as you and your teams get involved in these things and help to run them and facilitate them and actually even sponsor them, what types of what does Oracle bring to the table in terms of technology and platforms and tools and stuff that people can expect to be interacting with?
So I always like to start off with the people, because it is the people that actually engage and the people that can bring both their professional experience and their personal experience. So what I love the story at the digital defense one. The previous one that we ran was Len Ward actually helped out one of the teams from her marketing perspective around how do you sell the message or how do you actually articulate that. That team actually went on to become one of the finalists of that hackathon. So when we think about that, we're not just talking about cloud engineers like myself or product managers or people with tech skills. We're bringing our whole life skills to the table as well. So we got a lot of different people that we had at the World Innovation Day Hackathon turn up across the world from different regions. We had many of the different time zones covered. Beyond that, we had the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and the Cloud Promotion Trials to give people access to technologies if they need it. So the main goal as far as this is definitely getting to that outcome and not necessarily saying, hey, you must use Oracle tech to actually do that. But we had the people, we've got the tech there. We were able to help mentor people through, whether they want to learn about the tech or accelerate their experience through the hackathon. Then both the tech and the people really made the difference over the weekend.
Cool. You mentioned, this whole concept of mentorship. I'm going to be having some conversations with some of these mentors as well. So that'll be good to follow up with them. All right, Jason. Well, this was a really cool summary. Thank you very much. What's the next one that's coming up?
So we've got Smart Cities.
Smart Cities.
So Smart Cities Hackathon with Hackmakers again. It's been run by our Oracle Alliances and Channels team. So another opportunity to learn and engage with our partner network. So it should be a really interesting one.
Cool. Excellent. Well, I will definitely chime in there and check it out. Jason Lowe from Australia. It was great talking to you and good luck with the next event.
Thanks, Jim.